Hey, I'm Jason. If you're new here, I am a 55-year-old who, after about 40 years in the same line of work, am implementing what I call my freedom plan. If you haven't watched the first couple of videos that I've put out, I go into a little bit more detail in there about what this means and what the freedom plan kind of looks like. We haven't gone into a lot of detail yet, but we'll do that soon. But as I promised last week, I would share with you kind of a week in the life, if you will. I'm not sitting in front of my RV at my nice, comfortable uh, rural Missouri home base, and why I'm sitting here in front of this extended stay hotel in Richmond, Virginia, of all places. So, I uh, I am attending an NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association, a series of technical committee meetings. I'm on a bunch of committees. I've been in this line of work, this developing codes and standards, for uh, 25 years or so of my career, and I sit on a bunch of these committees. And these last couple weeks have involved the NFPA 72, which is the fire alarm code, and NFPA 13, the fire sprinkler installation standard. Those two committees are meeting here in Richmond this week, or last week and this week. We're a little bit of a break right now. I The first series of NFPA 13 meetings have just wrapped up. The next couple of days are the last two of those meetings. So we'll be heading back home here pretty soon. But I wanted to just touch base with you and check in, let you know what was going on, and kind of let you know about how, what a typical week looks like for me. This is a little bit different in that I don't have the horror of modern air travel this week. We didn't fly in and like normal. I did drive over from Missouri halfway across the country, but that's kind of a good example, I think, of some of the things that I'm implementing in this freedom plan. Is as you've heard me say before, if you've watched my other videos, doing more of what I want to do and less of what I don't want to do. And one of the things that I can't stand any longer is the air travel. And if you've done it in the last year or so, you know what I'm talking about. The airports are a mess. The flights are never on time. It's crazy. Sorry if you can hear the loud noise out here on the busy street in front of me, but again, all part of this whole conversation. So, a little bit about these meetings, and why I'm out here. So, and then we'll talk about the trip over a little bit. These meetings are a perfect example of the kind of that love. I won't say hate, but that love and not so much love relationship that I have with where I'm at in my career. I love the people that I work with, right? The folks that are in these committee meetings are professionals that are giving their time to make the industry better. And I've got lifelong friendships with a lot of them that I've known for decades and have spent all these hours and traveling around the country and around the world attending these meetings with. So that piece of what I do is great, right? I mean, I don't want to give some of that up, but again, the travel pieces and the having to travel, particularly on somebody else's schedule, those are the kinds of things that have worn me out over these last few probably couple of decades, and why I'm implementing this freedom plan. So let's talk a little bit about the trip out here. So great, great time. Great. It's so, I find that part relaxing when I can jump in the vehicle with my wife and my dog, and we take off and go somewhere. We drove from Missouri east, pretty much straight east over here to Richmond, and spent some time driving through the mountains of West Virginia. Just gorgeous right now, and stopped at the New River Gorge. Drove across the New River Gorge Bridge. It's a new national park in West Virginia. If you haven't been there, Wow, beautiful. I wish we had more time to stay, but we did get to drive across the bridge and spend some time there, checking things out a little bit in the area. But that's kind of again one of those examples of that mix that I find myself in, where we don't want to give up travel. I just want to travel on my schedule and go to the places that I want to, and that's a great example of it right there. Freedom. What does freedom mean? Well, when I talk about freedom, then this freedom plan, I don't mean freedom from work, right? I'm definitely not in the at a point where I want to give it all up and just call it a career and be done. To me, freedom means being able to focus on those things that I want to do. I still want to teach. I love to teach. I teach a lot, and I have for a long time, and I love that part. That's kind of my way. I feel like that I get to give back a little bit, and share some of this knowledge that I've learned over this long career. So I really like the teaching part. I still enjoy some of the consulting part. I still do some of that. I um, have maybe fallen into a really, really exciting new opportunity while I was out here this week. Had lunch with a good buddy of mine yesterday who has an opportunity that we're going to explore, and I'll share some of that with you as that looks like it takes off. And then just the participation, being out here with my friends and my colleagues. So again, this freedom doesn't equal not working anymore, doing nothing anymore, by no means. What I want to do is focus on those things that I like. This week is a great example of that transition, from doing the things that I have to more of the things that I want to. Sorry, if you can hear the siren in the background, but after all my years in the fire department, I still can't help but look up when I see it. So I want to touch real quick on the business, kind of a quick update on it. I mentioned last week that a lot of exciting changes were happening with it, happening quick, and I talked about mentioned that we have a name and we exist as an entity now, and our name is Bearing. We've settled on Bearing as our name, Bearing as in a direction or a path. That's kind of where we settled with this new organization, this new company that's going to focus on at a high level kind of workforce management. It'll start with the fire sprinkler industry, but definitely is scalable into a lot of other things. So you'll hear a lot more about Bearing in the upcoming videos. A lot going on there. The YouTube channel's growing. I've got a few more views every time I check. So I'm excited about that. That's definitely part of it. The home base, not a lot has changed there. Obviously, because I've been on the road last week and this week, that's certainly one of those things that has got to change, and that I really want to see see a change in my life, is being able to focus on again things like that I want to be busy doing things around my home RV home base, and when you got to go on the road for big pieces of time like this, having a meeting or a series of meetings that took place over a couple of weeks, it really puts hampers our ability to get things done back at the home base. You can't start a project and then really leave it for a couple of weeks at a time. So more about that as we get back. We'll be back. Today is Thursday. Today's Wednesday. We've got meetings Thursday and Friday, and then we'll drive back over the weekend. So first of the week, we'll be back in the heat. I understand it's about 100 degrees back at home, so kind of glad that we're out here in Virginia, at least for that part. It's a little bit cooler here, probably in the upper 80s. So a couple of things. You see me looking down at my notebook. We talked about that last week, and how I'm a notebook person. The 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 realizations kind of that I've come to over just these last few weeks, getting this freedom plan started. One of them is definitely it's nothing new, but it's kind of validating what I had thought about, and that has to do with the fact that retirement is not the flip of a switch. Retirement's kind of something that that I will definitely see myself easing into, and that's certainly what I envision and what I want. I don't, like I said, I don't want to quit working. I want to quit doing the things that I don't want to do. So I you definitely, I see that more and more all the time. How um, as I'm able to travel on my to the places that I want to go and do more of those things that I want to do, and more importantly, or just as importantly, less of those things that I don't want to do. I see that's exciting to me. The the thought of focusing on more of those things. That transition, that slow transition, is kind of all about slowly removing those things that I don't want to do, as opposed to just shutting them off. I don't. That's not going to be possible, right? I mean, I still need to earn a living. Um, we're not at the point financially where we can just fully retire. I mean, we probably could. We've got, as I've mentioned in other videos, we've got a few dollars saved, but and I do have a little pension from the fire department, and I'm blessed to have all that. I know a lot of people aren't nearly as good a shape that way as I am, but we're not ready to go back to that subsistence lifestyle and just barely get by. So still got to earn a living, and that means kind of doing some of these things that I need to be doing. But again, less and less of the things that I have to do, and more of what I want to do and what I enjoy doing. So that's where we're at today. I think I'll touch base with you next week back from the home base, and we should be able to have a little bit more of a detailed update on Bearing, the new business. We'll talk about how this week ended up and our trip back home. Maybe show a few pictures from that. So I appreciate you coming along. Again, you know your job in all this, and that's to keep me on track. That's that accountability piece that I've told you is so important, and I really look forward to hearing from you on that. So we'll touch base next week. I'll leave you with a couple of scenes from our long drive out here across the country. Thanks.